Hey everybody, Will here from 1459 Studios, and today we're going to be talking about the PRS MT15 amplifier. Check it out. All right, everybody, so today we are going to be checking out the Paul Reed Smith MT15 amplifier. Full disclosure, anybody who has watched videos from 1459 Studios before knows that I am endorsed by Paul Reed Smith. It is important to know that there's no funny business going on. I was not given this amp. I was not asked to give a positive review. I was not paid to do a review for this particular amplifier, so there's no funny business going on. You will get my honest, raw opinion on how this amp handles death metal. The big reason we wanted to do this video was to basically showcase this amp doing this kind of music. There's tons of reviews out there, but there isn't necessarily anything showing how this amp handles extreme metal. So that's the purpose of doing this video, and let you all check it out. So let's talk about what's actually happening with the signal, so that you understand what the signal path is. There is no EQ, there is no compression, there is no aftermarket anything happening. This is a microphone hooked up to a speaker with the head turned on, and I'll talk about what's going on from point A to point B. The guitar I'm using is a 2004 Paul Reed Smith Custom 24. It has HFS and vintage pickups. Plugged a new Mogami cable straight into the MT15 head, which runs into the other room into a EVH 2x12 with Celestion EVH G12 loaded speakers, going through a AKG C414 microphone. So straight audio, that's our signal path. You will be hearing the amp in its rawest form. All right, so one of the cool things that I enjoy about Paul Reed Smith as a brand is people don't necessarily think about Paul Reed Smith when they think about death metal. There's exceptions to that rule. Obviously, Opeth plays them. Paul Allender played them for a long time. There's a lot of bands out there using them, but they don't necessarily go, oh, Paul Reed Smith, death metal, when it comes to guitars or their amplifiers. So I've obviously done quite a few videos talking about how much I enjoy Paul Reed Smith, the guitars, but when I was able to grab one of these amplifiers, I kind of wanted to see how Paul Reed Smith as a brand was treating the world of metal from an amplifier perspective, because anybody who knows this kind of music knows that a percentage of your tone, which I'm sure will get lots of comments and arguments, comes from your guitar, but I would argue a larger percentage of your tone comes from your head and speaker choice. So it's always fun for me to be able to check out new amplifiers and kind of hear the voice of the amplifier. Now I'm going to be doing this fairly off the cuff, so be pleasant with my grammar and so forth, but the big thing I always do whenever I'm checking out an amplifier for the first time is just set everything at noon. Don't boost anything, don't cut anything, just put everything at noon and hear the natural characteristic of the amplifier itself. Now, I know the EVH speakers really well. I've been playing 5153 amps for the better part of 17, 18 years at this point, and was playing 6505s and 5150s before that. So I'm very versed in that type of tone. So it's really interesting to me how different the MT15 is. So just as an example, it's dark. It's really thick and has a lot of that boost in the low mids. It's kind of got that Mesa type sound, if you want to think like Mesa dual rectifier, that kind of sound, which makes sense given the signature amp, which is Mark Tremonti, who's kind of known for playing Mesa dual rectifiers previous. and playing Mark Series stuff for Mesa, I think that when they were working on designing these amps, it kind of had a natural tendency to go that direction as far as the frequencies it was trying to push and trying to actually emulate. So it's a very dark amplifier. That's neither good nor bad, it just simply is. But when you can hear how it's set at when it's at noon, you can do a lot more with it, and you can boost quite a few cool tones out of it just by making a couple of changes. For one, this presence knob. So just check this out. Just how much more bright that adds to the actual amplifier, or to the actual sound of the instrument, how much more articulation it can add. And then when you start to introduce your trebles and your mids, maybe a little more gain, starts to tighten up nicely at that point. So you start to lose some of that darkness, if you will, from the original sound. However, it still kind of maintains that characteristic that you would think is reminiscent of an American amp, if you will, the Mesa world, the Fender world, that kind of thing. So it's pretty cool. So let's just go ahead and play with the amp a little bit, let you hear some different tones, just like... So it's got a lot of different cool tones that you can do. So I'll actually make some sound samples and show some settings so that you can actually hear it from a recorded audio standpoint. And you can kind of scroll through those and kind of see what you like, and have a little bit more in-depth look at the amplifier. But you can pull a lot of really kind of neat tones out of this thing while still kind of maintaining that original characteristic of the amplifier. So if you're looking for 5150s style tones, this amp isn't going to give it to you. If you're looking for Marshall kind of British sounds, this amp isn't really going to give it to you. It's definitely more in that Mesa Mark Series, dual rectifier series type of amplifier as far as its in-house characteristic. But the thing I will say about this amp, there's a couple of things that are really nice. It comes with a really heavy-duty foot switch, which is nice. I mean, amps should come with a nice foot switch, but a lot of amps just come with a little plastic button foot switch. So it's kind of nice that they didn't skimp on the foot switch. It's a full metal construction, nice long cable on it. The actual amp itself is much heavier than you would expect for an amp this size, which maybe isn't a selling point for some people. But it's built very robustly. It feels very sturdy, very ready to go. Comes with a nice carry bag. And the thing that I noticed right away, where I've played a lot of smaller amps like the EVH 15-watt amplifier, the PV 6505 mini head, the thing about this is it's powered by two 6L6s, where when people think two 6L6s, they generally think a 50-watt head versus a 15, which is what this is rated at. It's a loud 15 watts. I will say that. I feel like I have to push my EVH mini head when I'm playing live. This thing isn't even pushing at all from what I can tell with the volume knob when I played it at rehearsals. So Couple cool things. The only thing I guess I would say is a critique is the bag that it comes with doesn't leave room for the foot switch in the bag, so you can't have an all-in-one. You have to carry the foot switch in a separate bag. That's something that I would say could be a little bit nicer. But overall, it's a well-built, sturdy, great-sounding amplifier. And check out the sound samples and see if you agree. Hey everybody, Will here from 1459 Studios. We proudly use and endorse Tone Vault audio cabling and Paul Reed Smith guitars. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. If you like what you hear, be sure to check out my bands Coffin Rights, Plague of Stars, and Chalice of Suffering. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in to the video today and the review of the Paul Reed Smith MT15 little lunchbox head. I hope you learned something about it. Maybe I helped give you a little bit of information on whether or not it's the right amp for you. So be sure to like and subscribe to future videos and enjoy the metal.